Some paintings fade. Albert Pinkham Riders seem to rot from within. The surfaces cracked, the colours sank, the moonlit seas turned black. And the strange part is, this began while he was still alive. In America, Ryder became a kind of old master. Outside America, far fewer people know his name. He painted only around 150 works: moonlit ships, a pale horse circling a racetrack, biblical storms, dreams with no safe way out. But the paintings he spent years perfecting were already beginning to disappear. This is the story of an artist whose darkness did not stay inside the picture. Albert Pinkham Ryder was born in 1847 in New Bedford, Massachusetts. At the time, it was the greatest whaling port in the world, a town of ships, oil lamps, long voyages, and men who did not always come home. His father was a hack driver. His mother came from Cape Cod families. He was the youngest of 4 brothers. One brother, improbably named Preserved, went to sea on a whaling ship. Albert did not. He was physically slight, shy, and his eyesight may have been damaged in childhood. That detail is difficult to prove cleanly, but it follows him through the story. Because Ryder's world never looks quite solid. The sea is not just water. The moon is not just light. A boat is really just a boat. The family called him Pinky. When his father gave him paintbrushes, Ryder later remembered feeling that he had been given the means to make work that could live for centuries. Then the family moved to New York. Ryder never lived in New Bedford again, but the sea stayed with him. He applied to the National Academy of Design and failed the entrance exam. He tried again and got in, but the Academy wanted discipline, finish, and method. Ryder wanted something stranger, so he began to invent his own way of painting. And that is where the damage began. At the National Academy, Ryder was supposed to learn how to paint properly, how to build a picture, how to prepare a surface, how to let one layer dry before adding the next. Ryder did not work like that. He painted slowly, obsessively, and often against the basic rules of the material. He layered wet paint over wet paint. He mixed oil, resin, varnish, and unstable pigments. He scraped, repainted, glazed, darkened, returned again, sometimes for years. A painting was not finished because the image was complete. It was finished when it finally felt right. And Ryder's sense of right was not ordinary. He wanted the sea to feel bottomless. He wanted moonlight to feel almost supernatural. He wanted figures to appear as if they had surfaced from a dream and might sink back into it. The problem was that paint has limits. If the lower layers cannot dry, the surface begins to move. It wrinkles, it cracks, it pulls itself apart. In Ryder's case, the damage was not just something that had happened decades later in a museum storeroom. It began while he was alive. Visitors saw paintings in his studio already darkening, already splitting, already changing under his hands. The tragedy is that Ryder was not careless because he did not care. He cared too much. He kept trying to push paint past what it could survive. And the more haunted the paintings became, the less able they were to physically hold themselves together. By the time Ryder found his mature voice, the danger was already built into the work. The darkness was not only in the subject, it was in the paint itself. The strange thing is that Ryder was not ignored, not in his lifetime. Other artists knew he mattered. Collectors wanted him. Critics saw something in his work that did not look borrowed from Europe. He was called America's Old Master while he was still alive. That is a strange phrase for a man who painted like someone half asleep and half possessed, but it makes sense when you look at the pictures slowly. A Ryder sea is never just a sea. The water feels heavy, the moon seems too close. The boat looks less like transport than a last chance. His figures do not stand comfortably inside the world. They drift through it, they ride through it. they are swallowed by it. In the racetrack, death does not arrive with drama. It rides in a circle. The horse is pale, the rider is small. And the whole scene feels like fate going round and round until it finally catches you. This is what made Ryder different. He did not paint stories as illustrations. He painted them as states of mind. Fear, longing, doom, and faith. The feeling that something has already gone wrong, even before you understand what it is. And in 1913, that feeling put him in one of the most important exhibitions in modern art, the Armory Show. The exhibition that introduced many Americans to Cézanne, Van Gogh, Gauguin, and Manet. Ryder was in it, not as a curiosity, not as a local relic. He had 10 paintings on the walls, more than almost any other American in the show, and his work was hung among the Europeans who were about to change art forever. For a moment, the strange man from New Bedford stood inside the future of art, but his paintings were already carrying their own collapse. The world was beginning to recognise him. The canvases were beginning to fail. Fame did not make Ryder easier to understand. He was not completely alone. That myth is too simple. He had friends, wrote letters, and travelled at times. Other artists visited him. Collectors came looking for paintings, but the life around the work became stranger and more closed in. Ryder lived for years in small rooms in New York. By the end, visitors described a place almost swallowed by neglect. Old food, dust, dirty plates, papers, paintings. Objects stacked so tightly, people had to clear a place just to sit down. It sounds like a cliche, the genius in a filthy room, but with Ryder, the room matters because it looked like the paintings. Layered, darkened, crowded, hard to enter. He did not produce much, around 150 paintings across his entire life. Tiny for an artist with his reputation, but Ryder did not move quickly. He returned to pictures again and again. He changed them, covered them, darkened them, then changed them again. He treated a painting less like an object to finish than a place to revisit. Every return added weight. Every new layer made the surface more unstable. Every attempt to perfect the image pushed it closer to ruin. Ryder wanted his paintings to last for centuries. Instead, some began to fall apart almost as soon as they were born. After Ryder died in 1917, the problem did not end. It multiplied. He had left behind around 150 paintings, maybe a little more. Not enough for the collectors, museums and dealers who wanted a Ryder on the wall. And that scarcity created a perfect crime scene. Soon, Ryder became one of the most forged artists in America. There were simply more people who wanted him than there were paintings to sell. The irony is brutal. An artist who made almost nothing quickly became an artist who seemed to be everywhere. Some experts have estimated that more false Ryders exist than genuine ones. The numbers vary depending on the source, but the pattern is clear. His name became easier to copy than his vision. A dark sea, a pale moon, a lonely boat. On the surface, Ryder looked simple enough to imitate, but that simplicity is deceptive. His best paintings are not just dark, they are unstable in feeling, suspended between sleep and weather, between faith and dread, between image and disappearance. That is why the forgeries matter. They did not just muddy the market, they blurred the artist himself. A painter who already left so little became hard to see through the copies made after him. The real Ryder was rare, the damaged Ryder was fragile, the fake Ryder was everywhere. And somewhere inside all of that, the actual man began to vanish. So what is left? A small body of work, a ruined surface, a reputation full of copies, doubts and repairs, and yet Ryder still matters. Maybe more because of that damage, not less. His paintings do not give us the clean pleasure of perfect survival. They ask for something harder. They ask us to look at what remains: a moon almost swallowed by varnish, a sea sinking into black, a rider circling death forever, a ship that seems less painted than remembered. Ryder wanted to make masterpieces that would live for centuries. In one sense, he failed. The paintings cracked, the colours sank, the surfaces betrayed him. But in another sense, he made something stranger than permanence. He made pictures that seemed to be disappearing while you look at them. Art history often rewards clarity. Ryder gave it fog. It rewards confidence. Ryder gave it uncertainty. It rewards finished things. Ryder kept returning to paintings as if they were unfinished dreams. That is why his work still feels alive, not because it survived untouched, but because it did not. The darkness moved, the paint changed, the image fought to stay visible, and more than a century later, we are still trying to see what Albert Pinkham Ryder saw before it vanished.